Let's talk about inheritance. When you hear the word inheritance, maybe some will, some bank account, all of these type of things come into your mind, right? But in Indian families, inheritance often looks a little different. It might be a trunk of handmade quills, a kitchen tool passed down through three generations, maybe set of steps followed in silence because that's how we do it. We don't just pass on wealth, we pass on ways of living. So let's try to explore what this looks like. Let's begin in Maharashtra, right? So there is this tradition called Rukhwat. Before a wedding, a bride creates a display. Sort of, it's arranged on shelves, sometimes in a corner. Beadwork, paper beads, paper crafts, clay foods. Each item is handmade, and each one is quietly saying, "I'm ready. I know how to build a home." Across India, these similar traditions exist. In Punjab, fulkari, a shawl embroidered over months, sometimes years. Bright colors, fine stitches, stories woven in silence. A mother gives it to a daughter, daughter to her daughter as a heritage, not just a fashion. In Rajasthan, the bride is sent off with a bedai ka sanduk, a wooden chest. Inside could be hand stitched stuff and quilt from her nani, silver toe rings, packet of turmeric, maybe tied in some soft silk. In Bengal, during the Gai Hulud ceremony, the bride receives not just the clothes and sweets, but things that she'll need to run a household: combs, bangles, maybe a mirror, and things like that. In Gujarat, there's this Manek Stambh, a ceremonial pillar in some homes where heirlooms and sacred items are kept. It's not open every day, but during weddings or naming ceremonies, the families gather around it, offering both memory and blessings. Many also inherit tools. In Kumaon, for instance, a son-in-law is sometimes given a small knife during the wedding. Way of saying he will provide now, and this happens in many other. You should note that many of these customs, many of these rituals take place in different parts of India. Maybe the rituals, the design of it will be different, ceremonies would be different, name would be different. But many of them follow the same traditions, right? And that is the unity that we talk about often. In Tamil homes, when a daughter starts her own family, she might receive her mother's old tailoring scissors, slightly rusted but still sharp. In rural Bihar, the first belan, the rolling pin, that's carved with the bride's initial and placed in her wedding trunk. In some families, they inherit ritual objects: a sindoor box passed from mother to daughter, a kamandalu, a ritual water pot used in family puja, birth to death. In Chhattisgarh, families pass on chulha stones from the old kitchen to the new one. A daughter lights her first fire on the same stone that her grandmother used. Many times, people inherit things that can't be seen at all. For instance, a letter written by a grandmother to a child who isn't even born, a bhajan notebook filled with songs for every occasion, one for joy, another one for healing, maybe. A little jar of masala, ground exactly the way it's always been. You can't buy that blend, you inherit it. But here's the thing: we don't have a full record of these traditions. We can't yet, and at least not yet. We don't know how many types of wedding trunks exist around India. We don't know how many recipes have only ever lived in one kitchen. We just don't know how many objects are part of inheritance. But maybe they're not named like that. And therefore, we should just start collecting these stories before they disappear. Let me move on to the next topic, or the next part of this module, called family businesses, legacies, and skills. In many families in India, inheritance doesn't always mean land or wealth, but sometimes what gets passed down is far more personal: a business, a skill, a way of doing things. You'll see it everywhere if you look closely. A mithai shop that's run for three generations. Grandfather at the cash counter, father supervising, son helping with deliveries. For instance, a tailoring business where one person takes measurement, another does the cutting, and the third one does the stitching. All of these things and roles are learned at home. This is how families in India often function: interlinked, not separate. No one's given a job title, but these roles are very clear. That's how many family businesses are run here, not with strategy decks, but with trust. Even outside of formal businesses, this happens all the time: a mother making pickles for a local market, the uncle running a mobile repair shop from the front room, grandmother stitching, lehengas for weddings. Siblings helping each other out for an online order business on Instagram, perhaps, is not always glamorous, but it works because it's based on presence, familiarity, and contribution. A child watches how to greet a customer, learn how to speak with respect, how to negotiate with the clients, understand that stock is arranged in a certain way, how these credit worthiness of their parents are generated over time. And this is what we call as Gyan Parampara, the Indian tradition of passing knowledge through experience and through generation, not from textbooks, but from people, from watching, imitating, and slowly mastering. In Kutch, for instance, in Gujarat, families sit together during Bandhani work, one of their most famous handicrafts. One ties the fabric, another dips in the dye. The technique is learned over time, side by side. In Kashmir, carpet weaving is done knot by knot. Children are first asked to help sort the thread, right? And slowly they learn the design. In Andhra, Kalamkari painting starts with helping grinding the natural dyes. These aren't just art forms, they are family legacies. They teach patience, precision. They also teach pride. And this is not just handicrafts alone. You see this across from small tea shop to big, large industrial organizations. These in Lucknow, chicken curry embroidery, for instance, is passed on through generations, not over school, but over chai and conversations. In Odisha, Patachitra, this is also where the artists teach their children how to hold the brush, not to draw, but to be steady. And this is also because of the family bonding that exists in exists in our societies. You just don't learn how to do the work; you learn how to care for it, how to carry it forward. Um, in fact, in India, families and work are not always separate zones. Sometimes work is how family spends the time together. Even when they grow up and they choose different careers, these lessons stay. So no matter where they go, the family imprints in the way they behave and transact is often visible. That's why many successful professionals today, whether it's chefs, designers, CEOs, they say that their first lessons came from their families, or maybe their family's small businesses or kitchen or farm. That's real inheritance. That is the real learning.